Night. The wealthy area of New York. A dinner just hosted by the Neurological Medical Association has just ended. In this just-ended banquet, the top surgeon, Stephen Strange, was undoubtedly the center of attention. Dr. Strange's speech was a great success. His contributions to neurosurgery can be considered. Haha, Christine, did you hear what they said about me? The dinner is over. Stephen Strange is driving a Lamborghini supercar. His companion, Christine Palmer, is sitting in the passenger seat. By the way, did you see Nick's expression? Oh, that guy must be jealous of me. Along the way, Strange is boasting about himself. But he does have the qualifications to be proud. At a young age, he has become an expert in neurosurgery. His medical skills are superb. He has a natural talent for wielding a surgical knife. Any difficult surgery is a piece of cake for Strange. It can be said that at this moment, Strange has reached the pinnacle that most people can only dream of in their lifetime. And he also has a beautiful woman by his side. However, the beautiful woman has already rolled her eyes to the sky. Come on, Stephen, you've been bragging for half an hour. My ears are getting calloused from listening. Christine rolls her eyes and looks out the window discontentedly. The Lamborghini is speeding. The scenery outside the window changes almost every second. Can you slow down? Christine suddenly feels a sense of panic. Through the car window, she sees a junction ahead, with a dump truck filled with soil parked there. The front of the truck is facing them, with glaring headlights, making her feel uneasy. Hiss. Are you okay? Strange steps on the brakes. He asks with concern. Pull over for a moment, I want to breathe some fresh air. Kristen's face turned pale, shook her head, and signaled Strangel to stop the car. Helpless. Strangel had no choice but to turn the steering wheel. The Lamborghini began to slow down and stopped by the roadside. Kristen got out of the car, and Strangel followed, walking towards the open space on the side of the road. The stars tonight are beautiful. Kristen looked up at the sky. They are beautiful. Strangel nodded, then said affectionately. Do you know, Kristen, sometimes I always feel like there is another possibility for my life. A life that is more exciting than what I have now. I used to always look forward to it, but not anymore. Because of you, I have already lived the most exciting life. In the distance, Chu Shu had a question mark above his head. In the middle of the night, why did these two lovebirds suddenly stop by the roadside and start showing affection? Damn it. Can't stand it anymore. Chu Shu stepped on the accelerator and started the vehicle. The dump truck emitted black smoke and rushed towards Strangel and Kristen, who were scattering dog food on the grass. Run, Stephen. I knew something was wrong with this car. Who knew that as soon as Chu Shu started the car? In 1 second, Kristen was still looking at the stars, 1, 2, 3, forming a line. In the next second, Chu Shu suddenly pulled Strangel, dived into the Lamborghini, stepped on the accelerator, and sped away. The V10 engine of the Lamborghini roared. Soon, they disappeared. Inside the dump truck, Chu Shu had a puzzled expression on his face. However, in the next second, he smiled and shook his head, saying that this was just a test after all. After all, he had already released the words, use the dump truck to kill Strange. In any case, the dump truck had to show up. This guy's life is too blissful. He directly lost the prerequisite for being a superhero. As everyone knows, the prerequisite for being a superhero is either having both parents dead or being separated from one's spouse and children. Anyway, one is more miserable than the other. Do I have to kill Christine? This thought just occurred to Chu Shu. In his mind, the image of the Black Strange who destroyed a universe in What If immediately appeared. Forget it. If I bring out Black Strange, the Ancient One probably won't be pleased. Chu Shu shook his head. He gave up the idea of using Christine as a breakthrough. And Chu Shu wasn't stupid. Who would create their own death for no reason? Let's do it like in the movie. Let's destroy his hands first. Chu Shu finished speaking. The red light of the reality gem flashed. The dump truck disappeared into thin air. Instead, it turned into a Lamborghini sports car that looked exactly like Strange's. Vroom. Chu Shu stepped on the accelerator all the way. The Lamborghini roared and rushed out. Then it slid sideways and quickly crashed into the roadside guardrail. No. As a high-powered car that difficult? Chu Shu got out of the car. He honestly released a teleportation spell. On the other side, Strange, who had escaped thanks to Christine, finally slowed down after driving wildly all the way. We should be safe now. A belated Strange wiped off some sweat. Steven, have you offended anyone recently? Christine asked nervously. That dump truck clearly came for Strange. I don't know, probably not. Strange was uncertain. For someone like him, even if he didn't offend anyone, it was common to be resented by others. Alright. Let's not think about it too much for now. I'll take you home first. Relieved, Strange started driving and took Christine back to her house. The journey was smooth and uneventful. Finally, Strange could relax. After dropping off Christine, he drove back to his mansion. Who could it be? Nick? Probably not, although he's jealous of me, he wouldn't have the guts to hire assassins. Strange parked the car and contemplated while entering the elevator to go upstairs. The moment he opened the door and turned on the lights, the scene in front of him instantly stunned Strange. Who are you? In shock, Strange discovered that there were several strangers in his house. They were wearing monk-like robes in a muddy yellow color. Their eye sockets were painted with eerie black eyeshadow. Seeing Strange return, they all stood up and looked at him. Don't come any closer. Strange's heart skipped a beat. Just as he was about to turn around and run away, he turned his head and found that the door he had just entered through had disappeared into thin air. Only a bare wall remained. Hello, Steven, you may not know me yet, but you will soon. Among this group of people, the leader slowly stood up and walked towards Strange. The others, as if teleporting, instantly appeared by Strange's side. They grabbed him, pinned him to the ground, and forcefully spread his hands, all facing upwards. Remember my name, I am Caecilius. The leader squatted down. In Strange's terrified gaze, he slowly took out a hammer. Returning to New York, the holy place. Caecilius. No, Chu Shu took out the reality gem and returned to his original form. Actually, he didn't know what Caecilius looked like because he had never seen him before. So he used the image of Caecilius played by Uncle Ba in the movie to restore the timeline. A physical restoration. Strange, don't blame me for being ruthless, blame it on the Ancient One. Chu Shu pushed open the doors of the holy place. Johnny and Robbie, the two Ghost Riders, were sitting on the couch, waiting for him to return. Did you save Uncle? Chu Shu glanced at Robbie and casually asked. As soon as the words fell, Robbie, who saw Chu Shu return, suddenly stood up from the couch, thumped, and knelt down on one knee. It was similar to the ancient knight's salute. Chu Shu, I said before that as long as you can save my uncle, I will be your subordinate from now on. Whatever you ask me to do, I will do it without hesitation. Robbie looked serious. Chu Shu was taken aback. Get up quickly, you're my half-brother after all. If you kneel down like this, it's a generation apart. Chu Shu thought to himself that Robbie is not a girl, and he's not good-looking either, so it's better not to get involved. It's okay. Let's just be polite. Robbie, seeing that Chu Shu didn't intend to accept him, immediately changed from kneeling on one knee to kneeling on both knees, almost knocking his head on the spot. Okay, fine. But I really don't have a place for you here. How about you go to hell and help me fight? Chu Shu thought for a moment. He decided to send Robbie to the front lines to fight. After all, the ability of Ghost Rider has a damage bonus against ordinary demons. After settling Robbie's whereabouts, Chu Shu turned his gaze to Johnny on the side. Hey, Chu Shu, although you saved my life, I'm over 30 years older than you. So don't expect me to kneel down for you too. Johnny made a little joke. Then he said seriously, but I owe you my life, so just tell me what you need. Don't worry. I don't have the strange habit of making people kowtow. Chu Shu replied jokingly, as for what I need, I may need the vengeful spirit inside you to help me. The vengeful spirit inside Johnny, its true name is Thanos. One of the oldest groups of hell demons, the former lord of the flame hell. Roughly equivalent to Mephisto's former leader. But later, Mephisto successfully took over, not only defeating Thanos, but also erasing its memory. Enslaving and sealing it, ultimately making it the source of Johnny's ability. Johnny, if I were to strip you of your ability and turn you into an ordinary person, would you be willing? Chu Shu asked. I would be more than happy. Johnny answered decisively. Compared to being a painful and involuntary super ability user, he would rather, at all times, return to being an ordinary person and live a peaceful life. I am no longer young. In another 10 years, I will reach the legal retirement age. If you can find a way to free me now, that would be the best thing for me. Johnny was very serious. Very well. But I have to tell you in advance, this may not turn you back into an ordinary person. You may still retain your ability. Chu Shu gave Johnny a precautionary warning. Then he opened a portal and took the two of them to the spirit prison. That's right. The barrier between the spirit prison and Earth had become so weak that ordinary teleportation magic could be used. Setting foot on the spirit prison once again. While feeling the scorching temperature, Chu Shu also felt the demonic power consumed in several battles being quickly replenished. And it even grew slightly. Chu Shu opened his palm. Immediately, a dark demonic power appeared in his palm. This is the newly added energy, extremely pure, the kind that the system doesn't need to purify. Congratulations, darling. Perhaps I should now address you as Lord of Hell. Hela's voice suddenly appeared behind Chu Shu. Did you conquer the entire border of Hell? Chu Shu turned around to look at Hela. Do you all have a strange habit of sneaking up on people from behind? That's right. In your name. Hela nodded. With a wave of her hand, the ground suddenly started to move. Two torrents appeared in the distance, one on the left and one on the right, rushing like a tsunami. On the left was green, Hela's undead army, on the right was red, countless hellish demons. Darling, just as I said. After killing around 20 million, these demons finally became obedient. They have sworn allegiance to you. Hela handed a beautifully crafted fiend's covenant to Chu Shu. Yes, the demon's oath of allegiance is not an empty promise. After all, no one believes in the empty promises of demons. The best oath. Always a fiend's covenant that binds the soul. Hela, you've done well. The moment Chu Shu received the contract, it was as if he had grasped the lifeline of these millions of hellish demons. Oh, darling, there's no need for praise. You know what I want. Hela leaned against Chu Shu's shoulder like a little girl. She blew on Chu Shu's ear. Darling, let's conquer another hell. I haven't killed enough yet. Chu Shu glanced at Hela, who was whispering in his ear. Finally understood why Odin sealed her away. This guy. He's completely obsessed with war. But I like it. Who do you want to fight? Chu Shu asked. How about Mephisto? I heard you had a little conflict with it. Should I help you kill this old guy? Hela leaned against Chu Shu's shoulder and asked with a smile. Mephisto, can you defeat it? Not now, definitely not. Hela answered decisively, but then whispered in his ear again, adding. But as long as you let me go to Asgard. If I can set foot on the land of Asgard again, I can challenge Mephisto. That's your true goal, isn't it? But speaking of Asgard, it reminds me of something. Your dad, that old man Odin, promised to let me choose an artifact from the Asgardian treasury. Chu Shu remembered Odin's promise back then. Then I'll accompany you, Daiwang. I know everything about the treasures in the Asgardian treasury. I can definitely help you choose the best one. Let's talk about it later. Chu Shu and Hela exchanged words. From discussing who to fight next, they gradually talked about the treasures in the Asgardian treasury. Johnny and Robbie, who came to Limbo prison with Chu Shu, had a blank expression and stood still the whole time. It wasn't until Chu Shu and Hela walked away while chatting that they snapped out of it. I didn't hear it wrong, did I, Robbie? He intends to invade other hells? And the hell we're in now has already been taken down by him. It seems so. Which means, we've joined forces with a Lord of Hell. Johnny, are you ready? Let's begin. Inside the spirit prison. Chu Shu completed the exorcism ritual. He had Johnny stand in the center of the ritual. The beginner's gift package that the system rewarded included a complete set of exorcism encyclopedias, ranging from basic to advanced techniques. The method Chu Shu used most frequently was the high-level exorcism, which directly expelled demons. In other words, it sent the demons back to where they came from, as determined by the system. But in the exorcism encyclopedias, there were other methods as well. From the lowest level of saving lost souls to the curse-breaking technique previously used, there was a wide range of options. Now, Chu Shu was going to use the curse-breaking technique from the elementary level exorcism. Don't be nervous, Johnny. This is just an elementary level exorcism ritual. You can think of it this way. Your vengeful spirit, Zatanos, is like a demon possessing you. And now, I'm going to help you separate this demon from your body and turn it back into an independent entity. Seeing that Johnny was a bit nervous, Chu Shu explained. You misunderstood, Chu Shu. I'm not nervous. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this day for 7 years, exactly 7 years. Johnny's hands trembled. He had been longing for this day for too long. Well then, I won't make you wait any longer. Let's begin. As soon as Chu Shu finished speaking, a dazzling white light immediately emitted from the exorcism array beneath Johnny's feet. Ah! 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 Johnny immediately fell to his knees, clutching his head and screaming in agony. Along with the screams, Johnny's head began to split in two. On the left side was the normal human Johnny, and on the right side was a burning skull. The separation spread quickly from the head to the body. Johnny was completely split in two, with human Johnny kneeling on the ground, while the spirit of vengeance slowly stood up beside him. Its appearance was exactly like Ghost Rider after Johnny transformed. You are innocent. The spirit of vengeance appeared. Its gaze immediately fell on Chu Shu. After saying, "You are innocent," it stood still. It seems like last time, I scared this skull too much. Seeing the actions of the spirit of vengeance, Chu Shu made a little joke. I've heard of this guy, he's called Zarathos, used to be a formidable character. Gila sat on a giant obsidian stone next to them, crossing her legs. She watched the situation with great interest. Was he strong before? Compared to Mephisto? Chu Shu approached the spirit of vengeance and stared straight into its dark eye sockets. Oh, darling, do you think I look like a well-read lady? Gila jumped off the giant stone, but she didn't dare to look directly into the eye sockets of the spirit of vengeance like Chu Shu did. The famous Eye of Judgment. Even Gila, who had been sealed in the underworld for thousands of years, had heard of it. In the Asgardian history books, there isn't much mention of this guy. It only mentions that it appeared over 20,000 years ago and was defeated by Yahweh, also known as God in human terms. By the way, this Yahweh, just like you, is also a possessor of a holy soul. So, darling, you are my God. Gila suddenly laughed and kissed Chu Shu on the face, leaving a green lip print. Don't play this game, we've already agreed that you won't come with us to Asgard this time. Chu Shu rolled his eyes, and he had already made an agreement with Gila for their next invasion target, Lucifer's Hell. Different from that high-profile Lucifer in DC. Marvel's Lucifer. Although it also bears the name of Lucifer, its strength only reaches the level of God Father, and it is considered the bottom tier among the Heavenly Fathers. Not to mention comparing it to top-tier Heavenly Fathers like Mephisto. Even in a battle against Gila, who has not yet become a Heavenly Father, this guy might not have the upper hand. It is truly a shame for Lucifer. Well then, I'll continue talking about it, Gila said, wiping off the lip print on Chu Shu's face with her thumb, and continued to introduce Thanos. 20,000 years ago, it was hunted by the original spirit of vengeance created by Jehovah. At that time, it was recorded as a lord of elemental demons. But according to the research of Asgard's historians, the reason why the original spirit of vengeance wanted to hunt Thanos was likely because it was once a member of the original spirit of vengeance, but later fell. Gila was talking about some very ancient secrets. By the way, Darren, I've never seen you so scared. I hope you don't mistake me for Jehovah, ha ha ha. Finally, Gila made a joke. Chu Shu didn't laugh after listening, but instead looked at the spirit of vengeance thoughtfully. Originally, he planned to use exorcism methods to try to lift the seal on the spirit of vengeance and awaken Thanos, giving Mephisto a little shock of the return of the old leader. But now, after hearing Hela's words, Chu Shu had a new idea. Do you think I can make it obey me? Chu Shu looked at the spirit of vengeance. The spirit of vengeance also looked back at Chushu with its pitch-black eye sockets. The two locked eyes, or rather, two eyes facing two holes. Use the eye of judgment on me. You are innocent, the eye of judgment only punishes the guilty. Chushu tried to give an order, but the spirit of vengeance shook its head and ignored him. Darren, I think it's being silly. Maybe you can try to make it give you its power, maybe it will work. Spirit of vengeance, give me your power. Chushu followed Hella's advice and gave it a try. But the spirit of vengeance still didn't respond. Clearly, the spirit of vengeance still had some autonomy. Simply giving orders wouldn't make it obedient. The only way to obtain the power of the spirit of vengeance is to let it possess you. Just then, Johnny's voice came from the side. At that moment, he finally recovered from the influence of the ritual. Thank you. I've never felt so relaxed. Johnny looked at the spirit of vengeance leaving him. A long-lost smile appeared on his face. But as someone who has been through it, I have to remind you that being possessed by it feels terrible. After saying that, Johnny stepped aside and happily chatted with Robbie, sharing some battle experiences, and discussing his retirement plans. Daniel, I don't think it's necessary to take this risk. It's just a Mephisto, as long as I step into Asgard, I can deal with it in minutes. Hela continued to persuade Chushu to take her to Asgard. Chushu pretended not to hear, perhaps. What's the risk? Chushu stood on the exorcism pattern prepared for Johnny. Then, he turned around and looked at the spirit of vengeance. Come, Lily. As you wish. This time, the spirit of vengeance didn't refuse Chushu, but walked straight towards him. The burning skeleton body approached Chushu little by little, and then, it just went in. Gradually merging with Chushu's body. At first, Chushu could still feel some pain. But soon, a crisp sound. Ding. Abnormal energy detected. The exorcism system is purifying for you, accompanied by the system prompt sound. The vengeful spirit that entered Chushu's body was quickly stripped of its power. The various abilities that originally belonged to Zarathos and Ghost Rider were quickly taken away and learned by Chushu. Regenerative healing factor, enchanted vehicle, eye of judgment. These are the skeletal bodies of Ghost Rider. The enchanted abilities of modifying Ghost Rider's vehicle, and Ghost Rider's most powerful single-target killing skill. Look at me, you bastard. Just as Chushu was absorbing it with pleasure. Suddenly, a scream came from within Chushu's body. Darling? It's not me calling. Hela thought Chushu was in trouble, but Chushu shook his head. Fortunately, soon after, everyone understood what had happened. The vengeful spirit that was originally integrated with Chushu suddenly screamed, struggled, and embarrassingly crawled out of Chushu's body. The flames on its skull were almost extinguished. Only black smoke was still emitting. Don't go. Chushu reached out to grab it, but the vengeful spirit ran towards Johnny without looking back. I'm planning to buy a farm in New Jersey and live a retired life raising sheep and cows. Johnny was still talking about his future retirement life with Robbie. When he turned around, he saw a skull emitting black smoke, rapidly enlarging in its pupils. Thank you. Don't come over. Johnny cursed with a dirty word. It was too late to run. As the vengeful spirit rolled and crawled into his body, Johnny's retirement plan was once again ruined. Johnny. Robbie asked softly. Don't call me, I'm annoyed. Johnny snapped back to his senses, shook off Robbie's hand, and walked dejectedly towards Chushu. Meanwhile, Chushu also opened his eyes. In just a few seconds, he absorbed most of the power of the vengeful spirit. Although he didn't cross the threshold of the divine level, he gained something more important: attack methods. Chushu actually lacked attack methods. The power of the demon was best at tempering the body, which meant it was suitable for close combat. Shadow energy was better at fighting in groups, which meant summoning. As for secret magic, low-level magic didn't require exclusive energy, so it could be learned, but its power was low and not useful. High-level magic was the same, learning it was useless because most of them required specific energy. Now it's good. With the Eye of Judgment, I can directly attack the souls of enemies in one-on-one battles. The function of the Eye of Judgment is to burn the souls of the guilty. With this skill, in addition to physical damage and magical damage, Chu Shu gained another form of true damage that targeted the soul. After acquiring a few more control skills, I'll be all-rounded. Thinking of this, a passage from the Bible immediately popped into Chu Shu's mind. You're right, but this is Chu Shu, capable of enduring and fighting, with 3 types of mixed damage: physical, magical, and true damage, and the ability to resurrect, the power of the morning star. Finally, with the opening of the demon form, it's How did you do it? Johnny walked over, his face filled with disbelief. I can feel the fear the vengeful spirit has towards you, Chu Shu, because you took away its power. This was the first time Johnny felt the emotions of the vengeful spirit. Fear, extreme fear. Especially after he got close to Chu Shu, the vengeful spirit inside him went all out and played dead. He couldn't even transform. Johnny, this guy has possessed you again. Should I exorcise him again for you? Chu Shu greedily asked. He didn't finish eating, and the vengeful spirit ran away with a part of it. Never mind. I can feel that the vengeful spirit is not as powerful as before. The key is that it can no longer control my body. Johnny shook his head. The vengeful spirit can no longer take over his body. Keeping the ability is already a better choice. And with the ability, I can help you better. You're not retiring? Chu Shu was somewhat surprised. From what Johnny meant, he intended to work for himself like Robbie. I thought about it carefully. Maybe. The money I saved is still not enough. Maybe I should work for a generous boss for a few more years and earn more retirement money. But you have to work hard. The boss will find you a wife next year. All right. Huh? A wife? Leaving the spirit prison. Chu Shu used the same trick and called the rainbow elevator of Asgard again. The operator Heimdall immediately lowered the rainbow pillar. Soon, Chu Shu arrived at Asgard again. Haha. My friend. Just as he arrived, a hearty laughter made Chu Shu frown. Thor happened to be near Bifrost, and when he saw Chu Shu, he immediately came over with a smile on his face. My friend, are you here in Asgard to drink with me? I'm looking for your father. Chu Shu rolled his eyes. Because Thor's enthusiasm was really hard to resist. Come, my friend, I'll take you to Asgard to find my father. On the way, I can introduce you to our Asgard, haha. Thor put his arm around Chu Shu's shoulder and walked towards Asgard, with the air of a foolish son of a landlord. Thor, aren't you supposed to go to Muspelheim? Heimdall reminded when he saw Thor about to leave. Oh, right, I almost forgot. Thor slapped his forehead and then became conflicted. On one hand, there were friends from Earth visiting, and on the other hand, there was a mission he had to complete. Go ahead and take care of your business. I've been to Asgard once before, I know the way. Chu Shu eagerly wanted Thor to leave, so he said. Well, when you come next time, I'll treat you to a drink. Thor felt a bit guilty. So he promised that the next time Chu Shu came to Asgard, he would share the 1,000-year-old mead he had been keeping. But Chu Shu seriously doubted that Thor was bragging. Keeping it for over 1,000 years, this mead would turn into vinegar. It would be a miracle if it could be left untouched for a night. Leaving Bifrost, Chu Shu suddenly thought of something. Where did Heimdall say Thor was going? Muspelheim. Although Chu Shu didn't remember the name of that place. But he saw the name displayed next to Bifrost when it was activated, Land of Fire. Could it be to deal with Surtur? Is Ragnar paragraph mark K about to begin? No way. Chu Shu shook his head slightly, feeling it was unlikely. Just recently, during the Ultron crisis, Jane Foster had just discovered the TIE particles. It meant that it was currently the timeline of Thor 2. There should still be at least 3 or 4 years until Thor 3. Ragnar paragraph mark K. And Hela is already on my side. What Ragnar paragraph mark K do you have? Chu Shu shook his head. He pushed aside these unrealistic speculations. Arriving at the Asgardian palace, Odin, as always, sat on the throne. It made Chu Shu unable to help but suspect if this old man had the same problem as Thanos, being glued to his seat. But soon enough, Odin proved Chu Shu's speculation wrong with facts. He was not glued to his seat. You've come. Odin slowly stood up. Leaning on the eternal spear, he walked up to Chu Shu. Chu Shu narrowed his eyes. This old man had become stronger again. Stronger than the last time they met, his aura had grown more powerful. And this meant, you're close to death? Chu Shu asked. Odin nodded. I already know about Hela. You did well. Just as I said, she is a powerful warrior. As long as you can provide her with targets to conquer, she will remain loyal to you. You can rest assured of that. Odin made a final guarantee of Hela's loyalty. But Chu Shu never doubted Hela in the first place. After all, anyone could tell that Hela genuinely enjoyed fighting. She was a true war fanatic. Enough with the useless talk. You know why I'm here. Chu Shu didn't want to chat with Odin. Even though, from a certain perspective, this old man could be considered his father-in-law. But who made his daughter not recognize him? Follow me. Soon enough, Chu Shu, led by Odin, arrived at the Asgardian treasury. You can choose one thing from here, Odin said to pick one thing. In reality, he was asking Chu Shu to choose from several divine artifacts. This is your Asgardian treasury? Chu Shu was dumbfounded. Odin spent a long time boasting about the treasures in the Asgardian vault. But the collection inside was not as abundant as the artifacts in his holy place in New York. Still choosing one? There aren't many of you in total. This is just one part of the Asgardian vault. I have a vast collection, but the items stored here are the best exhibits. Seeing that Chu Shu was not very satisfied with his collection, Odin frowned slightly and explained, the general idea is, don't be fooled by the quantity, the items here are of the highest quality. Fine. Chu Shu looked around and examined the vault. Inside, he recognized the Infinity Gauntlet, right hand, the Tesseract, the Casket of Ancient Winters, and the Eternal Flame. The rest were unfamiliar. A large glass ball, a broken stone tablet, a sword, a horn, and a model of a ship. What are these? Chu Shu looked disgusted. Apart from the Tesseract, which is the space gem from the Infinity Gems and has some value, the rest are just worthless items. Who knows if that Infinity Gauntlet is real or fake? Chu Shu remembered that in the movie Thor, Ragnarok, Hela had said that it was a fake. Maybe you should bring Hela here. She knows every item in this place and can give you better advice. Just as Chu Shu was puzzled by these worthless items, Odin's words almost made Chu Shu think that the old man had gone crazy. Odin, do you remember what you said before? Chu Shu suspected that the old man had Alzheimer's. Not letting Hela enter Asgard. Wasn't that what you emphasized and instructed before? How could you forget it yourself? Child. I want to see her. Odin sighed and said slowly. You won't regret it. Chu Shu fell silent for a moment. Summoning begins. I summon. When Chu Shu left the Limbo prison, Hela was preparing for an invasion of Lucifer's hell. Now that she received Chu Shu's summoning request, she didn't know if it was because she was busy or for some other reason. In any case, Chu Shu finished reciting. Hela still hadn't responded to the summoning. Maybe she's busy. Booza AA. Just as Chu Shu was about to explain, a faint green crack appeared in the immortal food treasury. Hela. Father. The scene of father and daughter recognizing each other. It wasn't as gentle and filial as Chu Shu had imagined. Hela walked out of the crack and didn't immediately engage in a fight with Odin, but went straight to Chu Shu's side. A look that seemed to have fixed on Chu Shu. Ah, Asgard, such a familiar taste. When Hela set foot in Asgard, it was like breaking free from shackles. Her strength began to visibly rise at a rapid pace. Chu Shu absorbed Mephisto and the spirit of vengeance, barely surpassing Hela, but in just a short while, Hela completed a comeback, surpassing the threshold of level Godfather. Or rather, she was always a god. Now she has only regained her rightful power. This feeling. It's as if we've returned to the time when we conquered the 9 realms, right, Father? Hela opened her eyes. The true crown princess of Asgard, the true goddess of death, has returned. Hela in a state of complete victory, standing once again on the land of Asgard. Completing her dream that had lasted for thousands of years. I'm sorry, Hela, but that's something I had to do, the Asgard of the past. No longer able to withstand any more wars. What our people need is peace. Odin sighed. To explain one's past actions. Oh, it's this again. Hela immediately wore an impatient expression and even looked to Chu Shu for help. Dailing, can I lead the army of the undead to invade Asgard? Whatever. As long as you can defeat that old man. Chu Shu knew that Hela was just talking. Well then. Hela waved her hand and turned to Odin. Don't worry, father, I won't forgive you, so you don't need to explain anything to me, and I don't care about those things either. By the way, I have to thank you for giving me such a good Dailing. At the end of her words, Hela leaned into Chu Shu's arms. For the first time, Odin's one eye showed confusion. He looked at Chu Shu, his gaze filled with disbelief. What's going on with you, kid? Cough cough. Well then, Hela, help me see if there's anything worth taking here. Let's take a few more. Chu Shu quickly changed the subject. After listening, Hela wandered around the Asgard treasury. She walked to the side of the Infinity Gauntlet. Sure enough, with a snap, Hela pushed the Infinity Gauntlet to the ground with a disgusted look on her face. A fake. Odin's eyelid twitched. He couldn't help but say, this is real, it's just not embedded with the gems. It's useless. Hela still ignored him. She continued to overturn one collection after another. As if seeking revenge on Odin, Hela threw Odin's treasures, one by one, onto the ground. She only stopped when she saw that sword. This sword is called Gram. It was my grandfather Bor's sword back then. The previous king of Asgard. After Hela finished speaking, she picked up the sword and threw it to Chu Shu amidst Odin's shocked gaze. Dailing, catch. This is the first dowry my father prepared for me. Now, let me choose the second one. This. Odin's eyelid twitched when he saw Hela throw the sword to Chu Shu, almost blurting out, this sword won't do. This sword. Treat it well. Just like Hela said, this sword is my father Bor's sword. It is made of Uru metal, just like my eternal spear, capable of activating Bifrost on its own. Odin looked at the sword in Chu Shu's hand with a pained expression. In all of Asgard, there are only 3 artifacts capable of activating Bifrost. They are his own eternal spear, Heimdall's guardian sword, and this, glaive. Looking at glaive falling into Chu Shu's hand, Odin deeply regretted. He regretted not moving this sword as well. Daring, take this too. Just as Odin regretted not moving this sword elsewhere. Hela's voice rang out again. She held up a ship among the exhibits, which looked like a model, with both hands and handed it to Chu Shu. What's this again? Chu Shu originally wanted to catch it with one hand. But the moment he held it, a tremendous weight made Chu Shu immediately switch to using both hands. The weight of this model ship was astonishing. Nogfar. The legendary ship of the underworld, built from the nails of the dead man. Daring. Don't you think this thing suits me, the goddess of death? Hela said, but her gaze glanced at Odin. The moment Odin saw this ship, his face suddenly changed. Hela. You know very well what it means. You can take glaive, take the tesseract, take any other treasure here. But this ship cannot be taken, because it is part of that ominous prophecy. Odin's expression rarely became serious. In the prophecy, this ship called Nogfar is an important symbol of Ragnar. A paragraph marked K's arrival. Its appearance signifies the end of the age of gods. Daring. Don't listen to this old fool. That prophecy was just a false lie. Hela ignored Odin. This ship was an important vessel for her future conquests. She insisted on taking it away. Just these 2 things, darling. The rest. That useless stone is fine, but it's of no use to us either. Hela gave her suggestion. Glamour and Nogfar were, in her eyes, the most valuable things to take from Odin's treasure trove. Chu Shu was indeed interested in the tesseract. But taking so much at once, even if he had thick skin, felt a bit embarrassing. Cough, King Odin, take it away. Chu Shu just spoke up. Odin sighed helplessly. If it were his younger self, he might have been interested in the infinite gems. But now. This thing was originally entrusted to you humans. Now that you're taking it away, it can be considered returning to its rightful owner. Odin handed the tesseract to Chu Shu. Asgard had the Bifrost, so they didn't care much about the space gem's teleportation ability. And in the universe, there were many people and forces searching for the infinite gems. Sending away the Tesseract would actually reduce a lot of trouble for Asgard. Thank you, Your Majesty. By the way, that glove. Don't push your luck, kid. Odin glared at Chu-Shu. At the same time, he used a similar ability to communicate through magic and said, I'll settle the score with you regarding Gila later. Chu-Shu decided to stop while he was ahead. After all, this harvest had already exceeded expectations. Alright, darling, we've already obtained the most valuable things. Leave some coffin money for the old stuff. Gila walked over at this time. In front of her father Odin, she kissed Chu-Shu on the cheek. Then she changed the subject. Father, for this daughter of yours who has been imprisoned in the underworld for thousands of years. Don't you have any expression at all? After taking Chu-Shu's things. Now it's time to take something in the name of Gila again. Meanwhile, on Asgard, the princess returns, bringing the little yellow-haired one, while plundering her old father's coffin. Peacefully in New York City. Finally recovering from the aftermath of the Ultron crisis. Near a coastal port, on the sea surface, a dark little mountain suddenly emerges. Appearing without warning, it startled a nearby fishing boat. After a while, the people on the fishing boat finally believed that what they saw was not an illusion. What is that? Lava. The people on the fishing boat took out their binoculars and carefully observed the sudden appearance of the little mountain. That thing claims to be a mountain. In fact, it looks more like a big black stone. The surface is flowing with crimson lava. Do you smell that? What a pungent smell. A fisherman covered his nose. Even from a distance, he could smell the pungent odor on that giant stone. It's a bit like sulfur, and not just in New York. The center of the former empire where the sun never sets, the foggy city. On the bustling streets, a red figure suddenly appears in the sky. Falling rapidly, heavily landing at the intersection where the crowd gathers. Startling the people around. When the dust settles, people finally see what fell from the sky. Goat horns, goat hooves, and the classic red skin, black tail. It's a demon. The demons are invading again. Accompanied by a cry of alarm. People scatter and flee. And the demon that fell from the sky, also with a bewildered expression, looks around in disbelief. Is this Earth? How did I suddenly end up on Earth? Oh no. Oh no, oh no. The Lord will definitely slaughter me. The demon frightened people, causing them to scatter and flee. In reality, it was also in a panic, standing at the intersection without daring to move. Those fleeing humans were indeed tempting to it. But it didn't dare to eat. Hey, don't run. Who can help me contact the great Lord Chu-Shu? No. Why are you running? I am your human friend. The demon shouted in the streets of the foggy city. But all it received in response were screams and people running away. Kamar Taj. The Ancient One, rarely at leisure, brewed a cup of tea for herself. The tea leaves were bought by Chu-Shu. This kid bought good tea, must have put a lot of thought into it. The Ancient One took a sip, very satisfied. The brat finally knows how to be filial, but before she could take a second sip, the Ancient One stopped. The dimensional barrier between Earth and the spirit-thin prison has been breached. So soon? The Ancient One closed her eyes. Soon, she discovered abnormal phenomena occurring all over the world. Many things from the spirit-thin prison appeared on Earth without warning. There were living beings as well as inanimate objects. Similarly, some living beings and inanimate objects from Earth suddenly went to the spirit-thin prison. For example, where is my huge Strange? The Ancient One suddenly opened her eyes. Strange was desperate. Upon learning that his hands were almost impossible to recover, he howled alone in the ward for a few minutes. Caecilius. 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 This name was firmly engraved in Strange's heart. Tears of hatred and despair slid down from the corners of his eyes. But how could an ordinary person, a person with disabled hands, deal with someone who possessed extraordinary power? Buzae. Just as Strange was in despair, a mysterious distortion in space suddenly appeared beside his hospital bed. It was within arm's reach. Strange was stunned. As if guided by an unseen voice, he felt compelled to go. Give it a shot. After all, I'm already a useless person. Finally, Strange gritted his teeth. Enduring the intense pain, he freed himself from the restraints and rolled towards the distorted space. In an instant, Strange disappeared from the ward. Stephen, I contacted the best neurosurgeon. Christine arrived at this moment. But all she saw was an empty room, the hospital bed long devoid of any trace of Strange. In the scorching realm of the dark dimension. As usual, Mordo stayed by a river of magma, reminiscing about the past. It wouldn't be long now. Once the Lord and Lady Hela returned from Asgard, it would join the army and head to the next hell, participating in a dimensional war. Who would have thought that I, Mordo, would one day participate in a dimensional war? Mordo's face was filled with pride, completely ignoring the fact that it was the defeated side in the previous dimensional war. Like a dog? What's wrong with being a dog? Nastier had completely adjusted his mindset. Just be a dog. Be a dog of humans. Be the most loyal dog. Eat the biggest piece of meat. Thud. While Nastier felt proud of himself. A figure appeared out of thin air, fell down at its feet. Ah. Because he hit his injured hand when he fell, Strangel cried out in pain. But after a couple of cries, he saw the demon with a human body and a horse face, Nastier. Demon. Strangel's pupils contracted sharply. No longer caring about the pain, he looked around. Only then did he realize that he had actually come to a place similar to hell. Lava was everywhere, as well as pitch-black obsidian. Human? Nastier was confused by the sudden appearance of Strangel. Demon. Could this be the revenge opportunity given to me by God? Strangel muttered to himself. Then, he seemed to have made a decision. Gritting his teeth, enduring the intense pain, he got up from the ground and knelt in front of Nastier. Oh no. You can't kneel. You can't kneel. Get up quickly. Nastier was startled. He quickly used his demonic power to resist Strangel's knees, preventing him from kneeling. Human. You are a human. How can you kneel before a demon like me? Luckily, Lord is not here, otherwise I would have to kowtow to you now. Nastier felt a sense of relief in his heart. I quickly looked around, afraid that this scene would be seen by other demons and they would go to report to Lord Chushu. Great demon of hell. My name is Stephen Strange, and I am currently in trouble in the mortal realm. I urgently need to borrow your power. For this, I am willing to offer my soul. Strange saw a mysterious force preventing him from kneeling down, further confirming his inner thoughts. Who would have expected such words? Nastier had a puzzled expression. You humans can't always catch a demon to take advantage of, can you? Do you think I'm stupid? You don't even change your rhetoric. Human, it's not that I don't want to give you power. It's mainly because you. Can you use a more novel set of rhetoric next time you deceive a demon? It's really insulting to demons, Nastier complained. I didn't deceive you, I really want to offer my soul. This time, Strange was dumbfounded. Could the rumors be wrong? Isn't it said that hell demons love to collect human souls the most? But why doesn't this demon accept my sincere offer of soul? Yes, you are willing to offer your soul. I believe you, yes, that's right. Nastier had a, yes, you're right, expression. And he would never be fooled. Strange also had a bewildered expression. The human and the demon were thus caught in a strange chain of suspicion. A loud noise came from the sky. The thunderous sound seemed to tear open the sky of the spirit-thin prison. Immediately after, all the lives in the spirit-thin prison witnessed the most shocking scene of their lives. Especially Strange, who had just come into contact with the hidden side of the world. His mouth grew wide open. Boom. Only to see a crack that pierced the sky suddenly appear in the sky. Then, a huge pale sailboat slowly emerged from the crack. That ship was incredibly enormous. It seemed as if it was a warship specifically built for the giant of the sky. The ship's body was pale, emitting a chilling coldness, and wherever it passed, the air condensed into ice. Even the scorching hot spirit-thin prison began to snow heavily. What is this? Nastier, or rather every demon in hell, questioned. They had never seen snow before, nor had they ever experienced coldness. Strangel opened his mouth wide. As the pale ship slowly moved away from the crack, he finally saw what kind of ship it was. It was pale all over, with the main frame made up of eerie white bones. The hull was made up of densely packed scales, no, not scales like those of a fish, but nails. It was made up of densely packed grayish-white deadman nails. Carrying a strong scent of death, Strangel's body involuntarily began to tremble. When he looked directly at this ship, he felt difficulty breathing, as if his throat was being choked. This feeling was called death. Roar, roar, roar. The pale ship emitted a rhythmic roar, accompanied by drumbeats. Those were the roars of warriors. Roar aa. A giant wolf with a massive body appeared at the bow, letting out a long howl. And Chu Shu and Hila were standing on top of the wolf's head. Hila, did you go a bit too far? You can let the giant wolf Fenrir go, but you even emptied the Soul Castle's seat. You didn't leave him a single coffin, did you? Chu Shu turned around and glanced at the Soul Castle warriors on the deck, unable to help but joke. Hila didn't take anything from Odin's treasury. She had her eyes on other things, such as her former mount, the Norse legend's sun-eating wolf, Fenrir. And the brave souls in the Soul Castle. Darling, this is what I deserve. Hila stroked Fenrir's fur. A long-lost smile appeared on her face. And you don't really think that was the real Soul Castle just now, do you? I'm telling you, never believe Odin's words. That old man is very cunning. Strangel stared blankly at the giant ship in the sky. As the altitude decreased, he could already see the densely packed Soul Castle warriors on the ship, as well as the giant wolf standing at the bow. And the two people standing on top of the wolf's head, Chu Shu. Its lord. The demons also saw the situation on the ship. Cheers erupted, especially Nashitor next to Strangel. The moment it saw Chu Shu on the ship, it jumped up in excitement. No, Satan. Our lord is the great Satan. We should call him Lord Satan. Satan hail. Satan hail. Nashitor fully displayed the characteristics of a sycophant. A frenzy of licking. Soon, it attracted the echoes of many demons. The sound of Satan hail gradually resounded throughout the spirit prison. Even these voices passed through some dimensional gaps and reached the other side of the main world, Earth. So, in some streets and alleys on Earth, the shouts of Satan hail also rang out. Satan? The Lord of Hell? Strangel gazed at Chu Shu's figure on the giant ship. His eyes filled with boundless shock. This scene completely shattered his materialistic worldview that had lasted for decades. At the same time, it planted a seed in his heart. A true man. It was the appearance of the one who ruled a dimension and made millions of demons cheer. A thought gradually emerged in Strangel's heart. And it quickly deepened, imprinted in his mind. This is the arrangement of fate. No matter if he is a demon or whatever. This may be the last chance in my life. I must not give up. Never. Strangel tried to clench his hands. Intense pain immediately struck. Blood quickly seeped from the bandages. But Strangel gritted his teeth, feeling the broken bones, nerves, and the pervasive pain in his hands. He began to stride forward. With unwavering determination, he walked towards the direction where the giant ship was descending. On the other side, the massive Nagielfa landed on the ground. Like a mountain with steep cliffs on all sides. Nastier, who arrived in front of the giant ship, had to raise his head to see the edge of the ship's deck. Boom. Suddenly, a large number of petals were lowered from the ship. They were inserted diagonally into the ground, leaving behind a large shadow. Immediately after, tens of thousands of Soul Castle warriors surged out along the petals. Each of them exuded a strong killing intent. They emitted an unmatched powerful aura. Whoosh! The demons surrounding the giant ship were instantly dispersed by the aura of the Soul Castle warriors, making way for a large open space. So powerful. Nastier also noticed these unique undead warriors. Their attire was similar to that of the undead in the underworld. But their aura was countless times stronger. Each one of them was equivalent to the strength of a demon general. Boom. As the last Soul Castle warrior stepped off the petals, the pale giant ship suddenly shook, and its body shrank at a visible speed. Finally, it turned back into a model ship that was just over a foot long. It fell into Chu Shu's hands. Here you go. Chu Shu handed Nagielfa to Hila. the moment Healer received it. Her giant wolf Fenrir immediately felt a heavy pressure. It quickly spread out its limbs and stood firm. What's going on? Just then, Chu Shu suddenly realized that something was wrong. After Nagielfa disappeared, in the place where it landed, there was a pile of destroyed building debris. The key point was, this was a wreckage of reinforced concrete. Such building materials were not popular in the spirit-thin prison. But this was not what surprised Chu Shu the most. The real point was that he saw a figure running towards him in the distance. Can someone tell me why Stephen Strange is in hell? After a moment, inside the demon palace previously ordered to be built by Belast, Stephen Strange was being held up by two demons over 3 meters tall, like carrying a small chicken, and brought in front of Chu Shu. Stephen Strange, an outstanding neurosurgeon, I know you. You lost your hands due to an accident. Chu Shu sat sideways on the throne. Just like leaning on a sofa, he glanced at Strange with a slanted gaze. On the surface, he had a cold expression, but internally, he couldn't help but let out a light hiss. Hiss. This is too miserable. At the moment, Strange was still wearing a hospital gown. But it was already tattered, his shoes were worn out, the soles of his feet were covered in wounds, leaving bloody footprints with each step. What's even more miserable were his hands. They were originally well wrapped in bandages and splints. Now the splints were all undone, and the white bandages were stained red. Lord Satan. Strange knelt below Chu Shu's throne. But his gaze was very determined. He wanted to follow the Demon King in front of him, no matter what the cost. Lord Satan, my hands. It wasn't an accident, it was someone named Cassilia. Strange clenched his teeth and earnestly spoke, enduring the intense pain. Cough. That's not important. Chu Shu coughed lightly. He immediately skipped over this topic. What's important is what you want to do, Strange. Do you want to restore your hands, go back to being an ordinary person, a neurosurgeon, or step into a more wonderful world? The world of magic. Chu Shu didn't know that Strange had already made up his mind. He was still planning to deceive him a bit and then throw this kid at the doorstep of Kamar Taj to complete the mission. At first, Strange was also captivated by Chu Shu's words. Being able to restore his hands and become that top neurosurgeon again was indeed tempting for him. Even the him from just a few minutes ago would have been enticed by this. But now, Strange had already witnessed a broader world. Lord, I choose the latter. Strange made his choice without hesitation. But Chu Shu shook his head. Please don't rush to answer. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Everything that is gained comes at a price. I am willing to offer up my soul. Upon hearing the word price, Strange's first reaction was the Demon King in front of him, wanting his soul. So without hesitation, he said, Chu Shu had been preparing his words for a long time. He almost choked on Strange's words of offering his soul. What the hell? Why does it sound so familiar? Chu Shu had a black line on his forehead, wondering if this kid was playing the same trick as me. But looking at Strange's miserable appearance, Chu Shu shook his head again. No one wants your soul. Chu Shu pointed at Strange. A golden energy, like a thin thread, flew towards Strange like a swimming dragon. It circled around and returned to Chu Shu's body. But it was in this instant of circling. Strange, who was covered in injuries, instantly recovered as if nothing had happened. The external injuries on his hands, including the shattered bones, all healed, except for the damaged nerves in his hands. Chu Shu deliberately didn't repair them. The power of the Morning Star. This was the first time Chu Shu used the power of the Morning Star given by DC Lucifer. Truly the will of God. Curing one Strange didn't consume any of the power of the Morning Star. Yes. Not even a bit. It was exactly as much as it should be. For the power to heal a normal person's external injuries, it couldn't even be bothered to move. Just the faint breath it emitted was enough to complete the healing. But this scene, in Strange's eyes, it was like a miracle. It deepened his inner thoughts and desires. Master, please let me follow you. No matter what price I have to pay, I am willing. Strange knocked his head on the ground. As for the being in front of him who looked like a human, whether it was Satan or a demon. Who cares? He has so kindly healed my injuries. Still a demon? Clearly, they are my regenerative parents. Follow me? Did I not explain it clearly to him? Looking at Strange, who seemed to have made up his mind. Chu Shu was a bit troubled. This is a problem. How am I going to report to the Ancient One? Should I tell her that I have designated you as my apprentice and turned you into my little sidekick? If I say that, won't the Ancient One come after me? And the reason this guy wants to learn magic, to obtain extraordinary power, might be to seek revenge on me. Spit, spit, spit. What do you mean seek revenge on me? Clearly, it was Caecilius who did the bad things. What does it have to do with me, Chu Shu? Cough, cough, it's like this, Strange. You and I are not destined, yes, not destined. Your true opportunity lies in the east. I will open a portal for you, directly sending you to her doorstep. Chu Shu was ready to pass this hot potato. Master, I swear to follow you to the death. But Strange had already made up his mind. His head slammed onto the ground. Since the first time he saw Chu Shu's debut, after that shocking scene, Strange had actually made up his mind. He firmly believed that fate brought him here. Let him see that pale giant ship. Let him see the powerful and kind Chu Shu. A true man. As should be. I, Strange, will definitely follow him in this life. Chu Shu fell silent. The good news is, he successfully sparked Strange's interest in magic and supernatural powers. The bad news is, it seems that it won't be easy to report to the Ancient One. Oh well, let it be. Love it or leave it. Get up, Strange, I'll take you somewhere. Kamar Taj. The atmosphere was somewhat heavy. Chu Shu felt like he had returned to the time when he first crossed over. He held a cup of unlimited refill tea in his hand, sitting as restrained as a well-behaved child. Well-behaved.jpg. Meanwhile, the Ancient One sat across from him expressionless. No joy or anger could be discerned. Dr. Strange sat beside Chu Shu, looking puzzled at the situation. He couldn't understand why the mighty Satan, the Lord of Hell, would show such respect to this bald woman. It was like treating her as an elder, but the problem was, she just looked like an ordinary person, didn't she? Well, elder, I have brought the person to you. Seeing that no one was speaking, Chu Shu broke the awkward silence. Oh, I must thank you. You really have repaired the timeline quite well. The Ancient One picked up the cup but didn't drink. Sir, are you talking about me? Seeing Chu Shu and the bald woman seemingly discussing him, Dr. Strange asked quietly. Chu Shu heard Dr. Strange calling him, sir. He immediately glared at him. Oh, I'm sorry, Chu Shu, I mean. Chu Shu, are you talking about me? Dr. Strange quickly changed his address, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. On the way here, Lord Satan reminded him several times, how could he still forget? Dr. Strange, you really deserve to die. Chu Shu is quite impressive. No wonder you are the Lord of Hell in the spiritual prison, you have quite the presence. The Ancient One took a sip of tea. A faint smirk appeared at the corner of her mouth, teasingly saying, I suppose the strength of this Lord of Hell must also be extraordinary, right? Boss, that's enough. Don't be like this. Chu Shu was speechless. How come I didn't realize that the Ancient One could be so sarcastic when talking to people? Although there was a small mistake in the middle, Strange is still interested in magic. Right, Strange? Chu Shu said, secretly kicking Strange with his foot. Oh, yes, I am interested in magic. Well, I am committed to, maintaining world peace, defending. Strange suddenly stumbled in his words. Defending the reality dimension. Chu Shu reminded him with a telepathic spell. Yes, defending the reality dimension, never allowing the evil existence of other dimensional dimensions to invade the earth. I will be loyal to my duty, not marry, not have children. Tonight and every night. Strange solemnly recited the prepared vows. After listening, the Ancient One fell into a long silence. It's over. The new recruit is also useless. Neither of the two successors can be relied upon. You. The Ancient One stood up and walked to Chu Shu. With a finger, she pushed Chu Shu's forehead, frustrated. But what can be done about it? May the Vishanti help me. I regret it so much. The Ancient One wished she could pick up the Eye of Agamotto and go back to the day she first met Chushu. And never bring this thing up the mountain. Unfortunately, the Ancient One could only think about it. Because Chushu has uniqueness in the timeline. Even if she travels back in time, she can't change anything in the present. Never mind. Strange, you stay, and starting tomorrow, you will learn magic. As for you, kid. Go, hurry up. Ancient One pushed and hurried Chushu out. Then, with a bang, the door closed. You don't know how to be gentle. Chushu rubbed his forehead. Just as he was about to leave, Ancient One's voice suddenly sounded in his ear again. This time, it was about something important. Kid, as I told you last time, the dimensional barrier has been breached. Your spirit-thin prison has become the first pocket dimension to integrate with the main dimension. After integration, the two worlds are somewhat like the relationship between Earth and Asgard. I can't describe it well. I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing. In any case, you need to be careful. Be careful of the other dimensions you have come into contact with. After this collision, the dimensional barrier of the main world will become even more fragile. Although Ancient One had just shown a frustrated expression, he still cared about Chushu now. Thank you for the reminder, Venerable One. I knew you still cared about me. Alright then. Chushu left Kamar Taj and returned to the holy place in New York. He found that the outside world had turned into chaos. Two dimensions were integrating with each other. During the process, many things from Earth went to the spirit-thin prison, and many things from the spirit-thin prison came to Earth. Regardless of which kind, it would cause extremely serious consequences. People disappearing inexplicably, and demons appearing all over the world. All of this plunged the world into panic, and the only ones relatively calm were the people of New York. Isn't it just a demon invasion? We're used to it. Anyway, the boss still makes me work overtime, no days off. Even if we evacuate as a group, we still have to work online, because let the demons come and destroy. Hurry up. In New York, inside the holy place. The core of the holy place, resembling a globe, is covered with dots of light. Densely packed. Each flickering dot of light represents a dimensional channel connecting the spirit-thin prison. The scene is quite shocking. Chushu fulfilled his duty as a member of the Asgardian Holy Temple for the first time. He didn't go anywhere, but stayed obediently in front of the core of the holy place, staring at this large sphere. According to the Ancient One's explanation, the spirit-thin prison is becoming a part of the main dimension. During the process of integrating two dimensions, countless dimensional channels will collide. These flickering dots of light on the core of the holy place represent these channels. These channels are extremely unstable. Most of them exist for no more than a second, fleeting and unnoticed, without causing any impact. However, there is still a small portion of channels that are relatively stable. Their existence in terms of time and location is easily discovered and utilized by people. This is also why many things from the spirit-thin prison suddenly appear on Earth. And the reason why people and objects from Earth suddenly appear in the spirit-thin prison. Overall, the impact is not significant. Chushu stared at the core of the holy place for a while. Finally, he came to a conclusion. The two worlds did not collide and perish like two planets. Instead, they only integrated on the dimensional level. In terms of material aspects, the two worlds still maintain their distance. The spirit-thin prison did not appear next to Earth, nor did it appear in the solar system or the galaxy. Its relationship with Earth is similar to the relationship between Earth and Asgard, and the relationship between Asgard and the Nine Realms. The connection is close, but the distance is infinitely far. It sounds scary, but the result is not that serious after all. Chushu remembered when the Ancient One first mentioned the dimensional collision to him. The exaggerated tone and subtle expression. Sigh. I fell for this old woman's trick. Chushu remembered the sweet words the Ancient One said at the time. Saying that he was just temporarily taking charge until Daniel the Magician recovered from his injuries at Kamar Taj. Bullshit. Damn it. I've been to Kamar Taj more than 10 times. I haven't even caught a glimpse of Daniel the Magician. Where is he recovering? Probably on vacation in Hawaii, I bet. I'll resign when I get back. Chu Shu made a little joke. In fact, he also knew that the Ancient One's concerns were not groundless. The reason why the collision with the spirit prison this time didn't cause too much impact was because he had already brought down the spirit prison and became the Lord of Hell himself. Otherwise, at this moment, it would be Bellister leading the demon army in a massive invasion. And according to the Ancient One's words, this collision with the spirit prison will make the barrier of the main dimension become fragile. Future dimensional collisions like this may become more frequent. Chu Shu narrowed his eyes, as if he could already see a few old friends waving at him. No. I must take the initiative, and my current strength is not enough, I have to continue. Just as Chu Shu was preparing to borrow more power, a phone call came in. Hello. Answering the call. It was Tony Stark calling. After listening to a couple of sentences, Chu Shu's expression gradually became strange. Are you sure these politicians of America haven't lost their minds? Reverse invasion? Is this something that a human can come up with? And there's no oil in the spirit prison. Why are they coming over? To steal magma. From Tony's mouth. When Chu Shu learned that America's elite soldiers were preparing to reverse invade the spirit prison, Chu Shu was completely dumbfounded. Are they? Have they always been this brave? Have they already forgotten the scene of Bast invading New York last time? Regarding Chu Shu's various doubts, Tony on the other end of the phone provided an answer. They believed that the failure of the last battle in New York was because the battlefield was on their own soil, which prevented the use of many large-scale weapons of mass destruction. And this time, only demons have appeared on Earth. The panic among the people has reached its peak. They have no choice but to send troops. And this time, it's not just America, the British Empire, Russia, and even the East. They all have plans to send troops. Chu Shu, I think this is an opportunity, we can. Tony's tone was slightly excited, because he also believed that this was a good opportunity to eliminate future troubles. He made this call to see if he could persuade Chu Shu to join the attack on the spirit prison. After listening, Chu Shu also understood Tony's meaning. Tony, let me be clear from the start, I won't help you this time, not because I'm lazy, or because you haven't paid me enough. Mainly because you want me, a lord of the spirit prison, to join you in attacking the spirit prison. Isn't that a bit too abstract? Chu Shu even found it a bit funny after saying it. Calling a lord of hell to ask for help in attacking his own hell dimension. Tony, you're truly talented. Wait. What did you just say? What kind of lord are you? Tony on the other end of the phone was also stunned. The lord of the thin spirit hell. The owner of the hell you want to invade in reverse, Chu Shu said with a suppressed laugh. What? A cry of surprise came from the other end of the phone. Then there was silence for several seconds. So, the last time. Tony stopped halfway through his sentence. But even if he didn't finish, Chu Shu knew what he wanted to ask. The last time when we invaded Earth, I wasn't the lord of the thin spirit hell. Do you remember that demon named Bellist who sliced you down from the sky with one slash, almost cutting open your armor? Can you use a different way to describe it? What do you mean by, almost cutting open my armor? My armor isn't sewn together with needle and thread. Tony on the other end of the phone was at a loss for words. Anyway, you understand what I mean. The one who invaded Earth last time was that guy, and later he was killed. I became the new lord of the thin spirit hell. Which means, the territory you're about to invade is mine. Chu Shu said calmly. Regarding the reverse invasion of the elite troops of Emilitsa that they were about to face, he wasn't the least bit panicked, and even felt like laughing. On the other hand, Tony, upon hearing this news, was completely stunned. I'll inform the council right away. Tell all countries to withdraw their troops. Attack? What the hell are they attacking?